Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. We've got a big crowd here, excited to see everyone as we continue to celebrate South Huntington's 100th anniversary. This is literally the last piece of our puzzle as we've gone building by building celebrating, following our big celebration in December and this weekend's activities at Adventureland and the bearing of our time capsules. So without further ado, I will turn it over to the esteemed principal of Silas Wood, Mr. Toto.
Hi, everyone. Before I do my little speech, I want to introduce my band director, Mr. Canella, and our Silas band students tonight that are going to start us off.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Just want to thank the students and the parents for your time and all their hard work. We're going to play Defying Gravity from Wicked. Hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
Nice job. Nice job.
All right, ooh, and back up again is our principal of Silas Wood, Mr. Toto.
Excuse me? Well, sir, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the board, cabinet, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Silas Wood. I am very pleased to make the acquaintance of the esteemed members of the South Huntington School Board this evening and members of the cabinet. I am further pleased to tell you that my two good friends, Colonel Henry L. Stimson and Mr. Walt Whitman, and I spend a great deal of time discussing and keeping an eye on the great district of South Huntington and all of its doings from our lofty seats above. Both those noble gentlemen and I heartily approve of all that has transpired these many years, and especially in this centennial year of the district. For myself, while I was never blessed with earthly children of my own, I can tell you all here and now that I have kept a close eye on my surrogate children, those many, many thousands of whom have passed through the portals of the eponymous school with which you honored me, the Silas Wood School. I thank you for gracing your district with the Silas Wood School, and I look forward to watching over the Silas Wood School building for at least a century to come. It is now my privilege to introduce Principal Toto. Stephen Toto, approach. Approach. Sir, I want you to know that I have my eyes on you, that I am watching you, Stephen Toto. And you must know I approve of all that you do. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind time.
So when I tell you I have the best job in the world, I have the best job in the world. Good evening, Mr. Ciapetta, members of the Board of Education, Dr. D'Elia, Cabinet, colleagues, Silas Superstars, families, and community members. It is an incredible honor to stand before you tonight as the proud principal of Silas Wood Sixth Grade Center to celebrate 100 years of excellence in the South Huntington School District. I have been fortunate enough to be part of this amazing district for almost a quarter of its century-long journey. For the past 100 years, South Huntington has been a place where students are supported, challenged, and inspired, a place where educators, families, and the community work hand in hand to ensure every child's success. At Silas Wood, we're proud to be a part of that story. Sixth grade is such an important year, a time of growth, curiosity, and discovery, and we are lucky to help guide our students as they begin this important next chapter. This anniversary is not just a moment to reflect on our past, it's also about celebrating who we are today and where we are headed. I want to thank our incredible Board of Education, our district leaders, our incredible staff, students, and community members for the dedication and heart you bring to everything we do.
Tonight, we are pleased to present each of you with a special South Huntington keepsake binder commemorating Silas Wood and our district's 100-year anniversary. Inside, you'll find fun facts and trivia about Silas Wood, as well as information about Mr. Silas Wood himself.
We're gonna hand that out. Lucci.
Known as Long Island's first historian, Silas Wood authored 2 books which have the honor of being housed in the Library of Congress. These are very interesting and readable books, and we are pleased to include reproduction of each in your binders. We hope you enjoy reading them. Here's 200 years of excellence and to building an even brighter future together.
Here's to 100 years of excellence and continuing our tradition of excellence as we build a brighter future together.
So the final piece of our district puzzle. Come on up front, Miss Bencherian. So we thought long and hard about how we wanted to present our puzzle piece, and we kind of went with the quote, "From the classroom to the world, Silas Wood is ready for it all." It kind of embodies everything that we do at Silas. So we have some photos of a lot of the things that our students do outside of the school buildings. I mean, I think I'll forever be known as the one that branded the Silas Superstar name, even though some of my colleagues make fun of me on it, but I'm going to keep it going. And then just our paw prints, which is just our signature for the district. So thank you. Thank you to my guys for coming tonight.
Let's get a picture with the Board of Ed, Mr. Toto, and our students, of course. Oh yeah, you get the whole puzzle piece. Thank you, Mr. Toto. Great job. we had an AI Stimson. We had Silas Wood. We didn't have Walt Whitman, though. Maybe we'll bring him back to life somehow. Oh, we had Walt Whitman? Oh, that's right. All right, moving on to the robotics celebration or recognition. Dr. Murphy?
Good evening. Thank you so much. I just want to have the opportunity. I want to let my advisor and teacher, physics teacher, Mr. Rogers, explain his along with the students. I'm going to ask them to come up in a second. Appreciate the time to allow us to show you some of the things that we do at the high school as it terms the STEM, physics, and engineering. This is an amazing group that did a great thing that I want them to share with what they do in the first robotics competition and be able to honor some of these amazing seniors because they are the best and brightest that women has to offer, and they do an amazing job and they inspire a multitude of students to move towards engineering and computer science. So Mr. Rogers and our Walt Whitman robotics team, can you please come up?
I requested to be here to actually say some things about this group. Is that one of the things about our program that sets like our program, I think, apart from anyone else, and you can see it at the competition, is that our students get presented with a problem. They think about the problem. They critically think about the problem. They mess up and screw up with the problem, and then they fix themselves with the problem. And then you see it the most when we're actually at competition, when you'll see other teams that have the adults working on the robot, and our kids stay calm, cool, and collected, identify the problem, what went wrong, how could they fix it, adapt to make it work better, and they run everything. This is their show. I'm so proud of them. And like you watch some of them grow up from unable to speak at times to then able to explain what's going on with the robot and go further than I can ever possibly expect. There's actually a quote that I love to say, and that's, "I do not think that there's any thrill that can go through the human heart like that felt by the inventor as he sees some creation of the brain unfolding to success. Such emotions make a man forget food, sleep, friends, love, everything." That's by Nikola Tesla. Now, I always thought that that was like an end-all and be-all when you see these students come up with their solution and watch it work for the first time. It's like amazing. It's one of the best things you could possibly see and feel. But that second part of it, that nothing else was like really matters compared to what you did, hits me a little bit harder now because now I have kids. And you know what? The Board of Education and Administration, I would like to thank you for all that you do for our community. Well, your community, that's not my community. I'm a little further away. I personally wish that I could have my kids in this district because for the last 19 years, I've been bringing this, with your help, to our students, and my kids don't have the same opportunity. So right now, I'm actually trying to get the Lego League robot in my district, and I'm trying to fight and try to bring stuff to my district that South Huntington has as like a model. And one of the things that we've brought to Whitman, besides the first robotics, is an engineering program that's offered through Stony Brook University, which some of the students here, when they heard that we were presenting, they want to show their stuff too. And at any kind of board workshops you talk about, or anyone you talk to other districts, talk up our program, because our program is actually an amazing program that's offered through Stony Brook. Kids get college credit, and they get to free think and work, and there's no right answer as long as they get something. Even just recently, one kid had a little bit of a smoke issue, but they were able to figure out what went wrong with the 9-volt battery, and they were able to identify how to fix it and make a real-life connection to what they learned in their class. Not one of these ones, but he couldn't make it. So it's really like a proud thing for all of you. Should look at them. And also, if you'd like, next year during our competition, I could invite you. I'll tell you when it is, and I'll even be willing to sell you a shirt that you can show up with. But it's to watch our kids versus watching all the other kids work. It's just amazing. and awe-striking. I'd like to introduce Peyton, who actually also did just become an Eagle Scout. Just. So if you do see some planes flying over Whitman, it's actually him. Oh, shoot, sorry. Actually, it's going to be Lulu and Samara and Emily. They want to talk about the club first. I forgot. Sorry, the class.
Hi, good evening. My name is Alexa Costello, and me, Emily, and Samira, we're all on the robotics club and in the engineering class. And overall, we really learned how to problem solve. We learned how to work through things and not just get told how to do them. And a really good example of this is our line following robot. And so when building this robot and writing the code, it usually didn't work. But after spending lots and lots of hours working on it and getting it to work, we felt so accomplished and actually cried a few tears of joy. But overall, the work that we do in this class and on this club is really, really accomplishing and rewarding. And it even helped me finalize my decision to major in engineering.
Hi, my name is Emily. As I'm also part of the engineering class and lead programmer for the RoboCats. As we previously mentioned, our line following robot, so just placed on the ground, it just follows it by itself. And we also completed another project, the Planet Rover. So basically it's an objective that it just goes by itself, does not bump into anything, avoids all obstacles. Thank you to this program for inspiring me to also add on an engineering minor to my education next year.
I'm Samira, and I just wanted to talk a little more about the engineering class. When I walked into engineering, I had no idea how to code. I didn't know what Arduinos were. I'd never used a breadboard. And I told Rogers that, and he was like, the best way to learn from this class is to just mess around and figure things out. And it confused me at first, but what I've realized is engineering and this whole class is so different than any other class I've taken, because usually we're given information and we use it to apply it to problems, but in this class, you start with a problem and you kind of figure out the information yourself, which I feel like is something that you don't always get to do and think about. And it's just, yeah, it's been really fun, and it's given me so many opportunities to problem solve, and I appreciate it a lot.
And one of the things I just recently did some research on is that we are now at a deficit of 5%. There's more jobs as engineers who are trying to solve our world's crises, and that we have people graduating. So the more people that we do have access to engineering and go into engineering will make the world a better place. So what is it? The leaders of tomorrow probably comes from an engineering class. Peyton, you're up.
How do we go to the next slides? Okay. Actually, Adam, you do the first one. I'll do that part.
All right. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mr. Rogers, Dr. Murphy, and all of you up here for giving us the opportunity to present our club. When I heard this was happening, I was like, wow, this is like really sick. I didn't think I was going to get to do this, or any of us, but you know, here we are. So to start off, we go through some of the community events we had during the 2024 and 2025 year. So notable ones up there would be the robot showcase at the NHL game. I thought that was pretty sick. Good. Oh, I wasn't done. I actually had a slide before this, and I was gonna present that first, but here we are. All right, thank you. I was just like, all right. So first, before I got into all that, I'd like to give a background on what our club really has represented over the years, for our school and just what we represent in total. So the Walt Women Robotics Club was founded in 2007 under the president to take part in community events and compete in their first robotics competition. It is a student-led club with students designing and building the robot, assisted by adult advisors. Over the years, the club has participated in countless community events, made 5 finals in the first robotics competition, and has raised over $500,000 for charity through the St. Baldrick's Foundation. Thank you. All right, so for starting off with some of the community events we participated in this year, there's a lot of cool stuff we did for the community and just like showcasing our robot around and like being able to do stuff. So like I said before, we had our robot showcase at an NHL game, and that was pretty sick. And then we also did some work for some events of the school, like the Walt Women Club Fair, where we had our robot and we had it displayed and like just got people interested in the club. And we also helped with the Walt Women Girls Sports Night with assembling the crates for what they were gonna do. The what? The posters. Yeah, the posters. Yeah, but so for the pictures up there, the first one is the lithium-ion battery safety presentation hosted by the Huntington Manor Fire Department, and and that's us holding like exploded batteries due to like really bad accidents. But yeah, there's a lot of dangers. And the second one is our most recent event, which we held about a week ago, in which we hosted the robotics merit badge for Boy Scouts. Yeah, bless you. Thank you. And that was a really cool opportunity because we got to help get younger kids interested in what we do here at Women Robotics and at our school in our engineering class. I also want to talk about some of the placements and awards that our club has been through throughout the years. So we made finals in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2019, and 2025. We've also won some team awards. So in 2007, our club won the 2007 All-Star Rookie Award, and we also won the 2007 Rookie High Seed Award. And over years, we also won a Judge Award and a Safety Award. And we also have won some individual awards over the years as well. So like individual people in the club at the time who were outstanding and got selected. So we've won the Dean Kamen Award 3 times, once in 2010, once in 2016, and once in 2018. And also the Fred Biertot Award. I have no idea what year, but we have earned that. And I'd also like to talk about our placements this year at the first robotics competition. So in the group stage, we won 6 of our games and lost 4. And we placed 15th out of 48 teams. And in the finals, we placed 5th out of 8 alliances, which is really I will now give it over to Payne to present some stuff about our competition robot for this year.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. My name is Peyton. I'm the current president of the Robotics Club. First, I want to introduce our 2 robots. Our first one is the one with the blue bumpers. That is our competition robot. That's the one we brought to competition here to compete. Our second robot is the one with the 2 cannons. That is the T-shirt cannon that we use for events around the school. Unfortunately, we cannot shoot it today. We would probably break the ceiling tiles. So the first thing I want to talk about is our drivetrain, which we got this year. Sean, come up. So the cool thing about this drivetrain is it can point in the wheels can point in any direction. Click enable. So demonstrate that now. So we can have our robots spin in any direction while moving. These robots can go up to like 30 miles an hour on a field, so they do move very quickly. This is probably only 10% what they can move. We got this system last year for our first competition. Unfortunately, we were not able to make it work, but this year was our first year we were able to make it fully work and operate. Next is the next thing is what we just purchased this year, which is an elevator that allows that piece right there to go up and down to go to any height, so we can drop off our piece. Adam, can you go up there and catch the piece that I'm about to shoot? So, one of the main objectives of this year was to shoot that PVC pipe that was in there onto a post. So I'm gonna shoot it in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. It's gonna come out slowly. Okay, it didn't come out fast this time. Also, it was also able to load, so we had a piece that would drop it down into it. You can drop it. Bro, what's it? There. So that was the main objective of our piece, and then we drove around and shoot into those pieces. We also had this little arm right here. There's green balls on the game piece that we had, and we had to shoot the balls off. Unfortunately, our ball did pop in the robotics room. I think that was a dodgeball incident. But that was one of the other 2 pieces of the game. So our robot did break during competition, our first match of the ranked day. That top piece, the cannon part, which holds the PVC pipe, cracked in half. So we had to fix that mid-match. We only had 30 minutes to completely reattach it. So that was a stressful moment of the competition. Look, there's the photos. So that's the CAD model, which is new to this year. We just started modeling on Onshape. If you look to the right, that's the photo of it being on the side, and that's how it's supposed to be, where it's straight up. So next is our fundraiser. So we're going to bring Adam back up. All right, so this is our major fundraiser over the entire course of the year. This started in 2007 when the club started. It has helped raise cancer for childhood cancer. We have raised over $500,000 for it. We run it every year in March. It is the 2nd week of March. Yeah. Wow. So the honors game is where we brought the t-shirt cannon to. We shot it to we were able to shoot it to the 3rd run, over to the top rung. We were on the national television for it, and we were, I don't know.
So I just want to give some special thanks to some people. I'd like to give special thanks to our team this year, who've worked really, really hard to get all this done, whether it was this robot. We have had many, many things break on this robot this year, whether it was the cannon, whether it was the chassis, and also assembling the other robot. And just how we did, whether at competition, whether it was how under staff we were, like Mr. Rogers said, compared to other teams. We're all student-based, while other teams use adults on their team. And I think I speak for me, Payne, Rogers, Dr. Murphy when I say that we're all proud of our team this year and how we placed. And so I'd just like to give a thanks to them. And I'd also like to give a thanks to our sponsors of this year, which are 9th Street Auto, County Line Hardware, Sinorama, LBI Software, Hampton Dive Center, Zaros, and ex-Robocat, Brian Jaworski. We'd also like to thank you guys once again for listening to us tonight.
Thank you.
So before I go, as I mentioned before, that I appreciate your time Board of Education and Dr. Dalia. All these students are seniors. They've made something truly special here. I wanted to make sure you see that, where what your hard work, what your effort does, where the funding goes, because as they said, one of the biggest problems that we face, and I think in the 21st century, is things are given too easy to kids. We've done a lot of focus on productive struggle. Where when we were kids, we had to learn, we had to work through. Whereas working on a car, doing something, they actually, sometimes YouTube makes it too easy. Robotics doesn't, because they need to learn how to do it, and that's all the art of productive struggle. So with that being said, I'd like to just give some awards to our seniors, because the reason why robotics has been so successful is because of these students here and over the years that they've spent over. So as I call you up, if I could have the board in front with our robots, they won't bite, I promise. And I'll have them come over, and then they can take a picture all together with our seniors. Samara, congratulations. You go right over between the robots. Alexa. Peyton. Emily. Sean. And last but not least, Adam. All right. Thank you so much. And if I could just have the picture taken, but we appreciate all your support, and let's go next year for robotics. Launched the first t-shirts, the staff, their mouth just dropped and was like, your shoot's more than ours. They let us shoot beforehand, which was good, because then we didn't worry about taking off yet.
Thank you very much. Great job. One more round of applause for our students. All right, we've got a lot on the docket today. Our next item is our Universal Pre-K Committee presentation. We've been discussing for a while, since the fall, that we were formulating the Pre-K Committee and the Transportation Focus Group. And as promised, this is our first report. The pre-K report, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hender and Dr. McCallion, who have been the co-chairs of this.
no one told me we had to go after the robot. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Ciapetta, members of the Board of Education. Tonight, myself and Dr. McCallion have the distinct pleasure of presenting to you our UPK committee findings. What started out back in January led to some really wonderful conversations with a large group of interested people who brought many different perspectives. And as a result, we were able to come together and come to an agreement on what some recommendations would be for universal pre-K in South Huntington moving forward. Our first, there it is. Our first piece, as we came together, we talked about what our community objectives would look like. And really, the first thing that we were looking at is what the available space would be for a location, some starting and ending times. We looked at some traffic studies and traffic patterns, the length of the day, and of course, before and after care options. All of that has been reviewed, and we will be making suggestions tonight.
Good evening. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the entire committee's hard work and commitment and dedication to this. Dr. Hender did an amazing job leading the charge, and he kept us on track and focused, so thank you so much for that. We'll give him a round of applause. Many of our committee members are here tonight, and that shows the level of dedication and commitment that the entire committee had. I do want to recognize their efforts this evening. We did, as Dr. Hender mentioned, that there were a variety of lenses and perspectives and insight to it all. So it was really important that we had a variety from different stakeholders. So I did want to thank our school community members, Heather Johnson, Lauren Goldstein, Jessica Rosado, Jessica Castoro, Holly Bobker, Gwendolyn Uden, Desiree Aguilar, Catherine Galley, Amber Steiger, and Sarah Finneran, and our South Huntington Teachers Association member, Mr. Nagar, South Huntington UPK teacher, Ms. Karolakis, and also the administrative members, Mr. Toto and Ms. Shum. So thank you all for your commitment and dedication to this. So we just wanted to highlight on this slide, we wanted to take you through the journey of our meetings and our discussions. Our first meeting was actually so amazing because we really got to introduce ourselves to each other and have a collaborative mission and goal for our committee. So we had we reviewed our goals together on January 16th. That was our first meeting. We set goals for every meeting thereafter. So each time we left and ended the committee meeting for that day, the next goal and purpose was designated for the next time we met. So it was very organized, and we really got a good feel of what we needed to do as a committee. We did then go ahead on January 27th. We went and talked about, well, what are we looking for? What are the visit look fors? Because we thought it was super important to make sure we were on site in all of the spaces that we were considering. Next, we visited Silas Wood together, and we were boots on the ground there. We absolutely walked the halls. We looked at different things. Our committee really had some good suggestions along the way. It was kind of like a little train of conversation throughout the entire time. So it really led to excellent discussion about the facility itself. We then visited Memorial. Many of us had not even been there yet, so it was a really nice time to see what Memorial had in store for us there. Then our next meeting compared the locations, and then we got a chance to kind of have some additional suggestions and final suggestions in the next follow-up meetings.
So without further delay, here are our recommendations that we were able to come up with. When we looked at locations, we felt that the UPK was best served to be housed at Silas Wood. Silas Wood has left us, but I'm sure we'd get his approval as well. Um, and many of the reasons for that, as we start to go back into the history of Silas Wood and the building itself being a former kindergarten center, it led itself a lot to being a UPK center. One of the most important factors there was that there are bathrooms in all of the classrooms on the first floor. So that was a very important consideration into what we were looking at. We also looked at Memorial, and there was a lot of space in the hallways at Memorial, which we felt would be better suited for our older students, our 6th grade students. But we really felt that we could do a great job holding the UPK at Silas Wood. So that is our recommendation there. When we talked and we looked at all the traffic studies, what we decided was that there would be 3 varied start and ending times. We thought that that would really help with the flow of traffic as we go through and as the program continues to grow. We know that over time, this is going to be a very, very exciting endeavor for our community, and there's going to be a high level of interest. So having 3 different start and ending times will alleviate any concerns about the traffic in that area. In fact, our traffic study results indicated that a 20-minute window would be more than appropriate, but we felt having a half hour really kept us safe. So we had 3 different start times with 3 different ending times. And one of the things that we have discussed in recent board meetings was before and after care, and knowing that what an important option that is for our families here, our working families. It is something that we are currently obviously looking into for this year as well, but the recommendation is that we do have before and after care at that facility. And that would begin at 7 a.m. And we spent a lot of time debating the ending time. There were some that felt it's a very long day, but what we came to was at the latest, the ending time would be at 5:30. We said that it could be earlier than that, but we felt that that could be the latest ending time for our UPKers. Along those lines too, some of our other recommendations were, as we look at Silas Wood, one of the things that we would want is some outdoor playground areas for our students. The recommendation is for one day for there to be 3 playground areas there. And these playground areas are smaller than what you would see at a typical park. These are UPK appropriate playground facilities. So smaller in nature in terms of the size, the ages that students were allowed to utilize them. And then what we would look to do is, as we grow over time, be able to dedicate, hopefully one day, 3 playground areas as our classes continue to grow. We think that in the beginning, 1 to 2 playground areas where we could separate classes would be a fantastic addition to our UPK program. In addition to that, we felt that a 5-hour schedule, which is what we currently have, would be the minimum for us moving forward. We felt that one of the most beneficial pieces that we're able to offer all of our UPK students, which is really unheard of, is free breakfast and lunch as well. So continuing, of course, with that practice. And we spent some time talking about specials and what that might look like, such as a physical education special throughout the day, having a dedicated music teacher that came into the classroom or had a classroom of their own where music instruments could be played with at that early age as they develop rhythms and play different games in that sense. And then one of our recommendations that we felt strongly about was having a dedicated South Huntington principal to that building, obviously with the appropriate office and support staff as well to help support all of our students, all of the programs that we would look to have there. The exciting part of this is it would all be under one roof, one building, all of our South Huntington UPK students learning together in their classrooms and really just an amazing program that we'd be able to offer to all of our families.
Okay, so during our discussions, we had some other things or topics that we wanted to consider as a committee. And some of those topics were, during our site visits, we noticed that maybe some things like lowering of the presentation boards might be something to consider should, we move ahead with one site versus the other. Materials to order, thinking about moving ahead with books and all the things that are needed, furniture, new paint in some areas, and also access to stairways and exits, looking at, the safety pieces of it as well. Scheduling of specials, as Dr. Hender had just mentioned, and also lunch. Right, so those are some of the other things when we get to that point to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McCallion. Thank you, Dr. Hender. Great job. In the order of things, I'll first let the students go ahead to let them go, and then we'll open up the questions from the board and any questions from the community. The board would not make any decisions tonight because we still have the Transportation Committee to hear from. The Transportation Committee will present at the June 4th meeting, and then the board hopefully would make a decision at the June 17th meeting. This is, as we've said and intended to, this is a totally independent process. First time we're seeing all these recommendations, so thank you once again for all your work on it. So I'll open it up to questions from the board. I have one question for you. With Dr. Hender, when you're talking about the 3 playground recommendations, is that designed to have different structures on each, or is the 3 based on the number of students in the program that we're hoping to enroll?
I'm glad you asked. It's a combination of both. So we would look to have different pieces, obviously, so as students rotated throughout the course of a week or a month, they could utilize different pieces, but also because of the amount of students that we anticipate having and the amount of blocks of time that we would need throughout the course of the day. The state does have a regulation that only one class can go on a playground area at a time at the UPK level. So keeping that in consideration, that's why we felt that 1 to 2 would be appropriate as we begin the program, but later on there may be needs for a 3rd.
And different students would go at different times throughout the day? Is that how you anticipate?
Yes.
Okay.
It would be scheduled.
Great. Other questions from the board first? Mr. Bronson.
Thank you again for the committee's work and for the presentation. I just had a point and a question. So on the point, you had mentioned that Silas was formerly for kindergarten. I think is the other facility you're looking at, Memorial, just for the public's awareness, was formerly a middle school. So again, just so people are aware that the original intent of both of those buildings. My question was, you had mentioned the bathrooms on the first floor. Does that mean only the first floor of Silas would be utilized, or it would be like how would the upstairs be utilized at all? It just caught my attention because you mentioned the first floor.
Sure. So at this current time, we would plan to utilize classrooms on the first floor of the building. When we looked at appropriate spaces, there were 18 spaces that could be utilized as classrooms on the first floor. And that would put us at a very healthy, I believe, 324 students, if my math is quick. And, and then moving from there, some of the things that we had thought about for that second floor is it could be an office area for some of our support services or different people within our building. But our focus was that we felt that we could do it within the first floor of Silas Wood. It would also keep our little legs from going upstairs, and we thought that that was important as well.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Biangasso.
Yes, first of all, thank you to you and your committee as well. I did have a question on the start and end time. So it looked like you said you wanted to stagger them, I think it was 8:39 and 9:30. I guess the first question I had was, would there be choice as to who would get, say, an 8:39 or 9:30 session based off parental needs? And based off the traffic study, is that something that you foresee being long-term, or do you think we would have to revisit those times maybe over the next, say, year to 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is we want to look down the road, where maybe as traffic patterns change, you might want to alter those times?
Absolutely. I think that, as we go through this and we really see how many students we are able to get into the building and how quickly we can do so. Remember, when we do have our youngest students, they are being taken in and out of car seats. They have little legs again, and they require a little bit more time to get acclimated. But it would be something that we would continually revisit. Obviously, having the building principal on site on a daily basis would be able to make the adjustments, make the recommendations for adjustments as needed. And when we looked at the 3 times, really the traffic study did come into play there in terms of what times we had chosen.
Mr. Scragg.
I too want to just say thank you for all the work that you've done over the past couple of months. On the other things to consider list, you had access to stairways and exits. Is that the development of evacuation plans, or does something need to change with the way the stairs and exits are aligned now?
So one of the things that we looked at was, where some of the doorways are positioned in terms of exit points for our building. Obviously, we would want to make sure that we had either someone stationed outside of a stairwell, or in some cases, if we weren't utilizing pieces of the top floor at that point, what the fire and safety recommendations would be for the possible blocking of a hallway or a stairwell. So that's something that we would obviously work and get all the permits and make sure it was done correctly.
And Dr. Hender, if you have 8:30, 9, and 9:30 staggered, the 8:30 session looks like, if I did my math correct, would end at 2, and then the 9:30 would end at 3. So would all groups be able to stay to 5:30, or how would that work?
We were looking at that component, obviously, and to go back to Mr. Biangasso's question that I didn't fully answer there. I'm sorry about that. We talked about how there wouldn't necessarily be a lottery moving forward, but we would try to give parents choice in terms of their starting and ending times, and obviously taking into consideration what that dismissal time would look like.
Ms. Meyer.
Yep, thank you, Dr. Hender, Dr. McKellian, and the whole committee. I'm curious if it came up in your conversations at all, and it's okay if it hasn't, the question of bilingual education at the UPK level, because many of our students are entering the district as English language learners, so I'm just curious if that was part of the conversation.
Absolutely. We did discuss when we talked about specials and different opportunities that we could have, what that might look like for our preschoolers, the continuation of or the introduction of our dual language program starting at that UPK level is certainly something that the committee had great interest in, as well as our special education services and making sure that we continue to provide those opportunities for our special education students for our preschoolers. Sure.
And the special, would that, Dr. Hender, Dr. McKellian, do you think that would rotate each day? Do you view 5 different specials, or what do you foresee?
I think as we look at it, it would really depend on how we could best service the amount of classes that we have at a particular time. So really taking a look at where those abilities to fit those sections in and that scheduling piece would certainly be a priority of the building principal, one of their first tasks.
Other questions from the board? Just one final one for me. With terms of special ed and the pre-K, would there be standalone special ed classes? Would there be a model like we have now where there's co-teaching? How do you envision that?
So currently right now with our SHIP program, we do have the integrated model. That's something that we talked about, and we've also been working closely with our special education department to see if there are other models that we could incorporate as well. Of course, we want to bring as many of our South Huntington students into this program and into our community as possible, as early as possible.
Okay, great. And would we have the same type of staff in other buildings? Would we have behavioral therapists? Would we have
Yes, that actually would be what we consider our support staff. So in addition to an office staff like we have at a building, currently right now we do have support staff in place that travel from different buildings, such as our social worker. Ms. Sirota, she goes from building to building, so having it in one place will be nice also, and we would continue to provide that piece, as well as CPS recommendations and however they were determined to be delivered through our SEAT teachers.
Thank you. I'll open it up to the community. Oh, sorry, Ms. Meyer.
Sorry, one more question. I think this question might actually be for Mr. Conway, but anyone feel free to answer. But in terms of the state allotment that we get for UPK funding, is it a per student model? And if so, do we have to allocate or account for the support staff and some of the overhead in that per student model? Or is it a bucket and we get to choose how we...
So I have had the privilege of filling out the UPK grant. It's a very long process, but within that grant, through the allocations, once we determine how many students we are able to accommodate and that we have registered, we then have 5 different categories that we can spread the money into, one of them being salary, one of them being supplies, one of them being equipment, support staff was another one, so that there are different levels, and you can divide that money up however you see fit.
But basically the formula works that the more students we can accommodate, the more funding overall we will get to do so.
Yeah, so roughly, based on our current calculations, we get approximately $5,400 per student, and the hope is that we haven't seen the budget, the governor's budget yet, but I know I stole your thunder, Dr. Lee. Sorry.
He was waiting. He had his finger on the button for
I
that.
saw.
Stole it.
Any day now.
Any day, but there has been talk that there may be an increase in the allotment per student, and obviously I check the grant finance website every day to see if there are any expansion grants that we would be able to qualify for as well, which could increase our funding also.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Public have any questions? Yes. Could you just come up to state your name so we can hear you? Thank you. Otherwise, people at home won't be able to hear.
Hello, I'm Courtney Anderley. I was just wondering if you guys considered half day at all when it came to maybe some of the kids who aren't ready for a full 5.5 hour, it's their first time at school, and where you landed on that.
Sure, so that is one of the other areas that we did discuss. What we have found this year especially is exactly what you're saying, Ms. Enderly, that some of our parents are looking for that half-day option, so it is something that the state does allow us to continue, and it is something that we would look to explore as well, depending on the interest level of that. Yes, and our hope would be, well, we won't have a lottery anymore. Yep. To gauge what the interest level would be, of course, and the starting, who would prefer which starting or ending time.
If it's a half day, how does that work with the funding? Is it then half of that funding?
There is a formula. It's a little bit more than half that you get per student based on certain calculations. So the state has a plug it in and it spits out the number for you.
Gotcha. Thank you. Other questions from the public? Yes, Ms. Dillon. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just so everybody hears at home. Sorry. Unless we have a portable microphone, but I don't think so. Sorry.
With regard for Silas Wood going to Memorial, didn't they have opportunities when they were at Silas Wood going over to Stimson? Like the buses would take them over for certain activities? Will they still have that opportunity once it's all the way at Memorial?
Yep, they'll take that long, long ride over. We're not going to deny them any opportunities that they currently have at Silas Wood going to Stimson. That will not be taken off the table, and we'll coordinate with transportation.
They won't go near the 5 corners because they'll never get over there.
I'll touch base with you on that, okay? You'll help me out with that one. If the board decides, that these will be the places.
Any other questions? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Hi, Alex Spencer. Just wondering, I'm new to the area. Is the December 1st cutoff for 4-year-old going to remain a hard cutoff?
Want me to tackle?
No, I'll take it.
Okay.
The answer is yes, because if it's not, then it could become an option for students that turn 5. If we extend that date, then you're going to have a gap of, I can make a decision because I was born on December 8th and we extended it. I'm just making it up to December 14th. Certain students will have a decision because one of the things is I'm not sure we're going to have transportation for pre-K, but we will have transportation for kindergarten. And we don't want families making decisions on taking, saying I'm going to have my child go into kindergarten because I have that 2-week gap. My child was born within those 2 weeks. That now, you know what? I want them to go to kindergarten because I want them to get transportation, if that makes sense. Because that's what would happen if you open up that window from December 1st. Because it's December 1st.
Earlier side.
Oh, on the earlier side?
I have a 3-year-old that turns 4 January. Then I gotta wait a whole other year. And then it's like, now I'm in that window you're talking about coming up.
Prior, yeah. But then that could change the dynamics again all over the place. So. There are some state regulations on the exact dates.
Compulsory age, yep,
Of
students
December
entering
1st that we
kindergarten.
don't have that ability to change. It's really changing the kindergarten enrollment date. So that's what happens.
So pre-K, the cutoff is mandatory at December 1st?
Yes, it's kindergarten where.
Yeah, actually, it's a state regulation that determines that the date is December 1st.
Okay.
For UPK, compulsory age is, for kindergarten, the compulsory age is 6 years old. Our district, as well as most in Western Suffolk County, have chosen December 1st. But for UPK, there is no negotiation. It has to be December 1st. It's a state regulation.
Interesting that they do that. You didn't mention transportation in here. I assume your recommendation is not transportation, or did the committee not reach that?
Yeah, transportation we felt was best, as it currently is with a drop-off pickup model. We've talked to other districts. We've had some conversations with others, and the amount of time for students to be at that young age to be on buses, the amount of time it takes to get a child in a seat, and the amount of buses that would potentially be needed because they could only travel with students their own age would really cut down on our ability to even entertain it as a district.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions on this? Yes, Mr. Joyner.
Following up with what you just shared, can you talk a little bit, I guess, are you explaining in full the liability issue of it?
Liability piece,
on both sides, on parent sides and also on the district side.
Sure, that wasn't one of the things that we had discussed in our conversations. It was more generalized in the fact that 4-year-old students can only travel with students that age. They can't travel, be transported by us prior to age 4. So therefore, we felt that it wasn't a great option for us.
Appreciate that, because an expanded response to that is definitely needed. Thank you.
Other questions from the board community on pre-K? Okay. Thank you very much. Or do we have any members of the pre-K committee here for the staff?
They're out there.
So just stand up so we'll give you a thank you. Great. Thank you for your service. I think you guys covered a lot of areas, and we'll continue to review it. Thank you. All right. Moving on to our final presentation today. It is a public hearing of the budget. I'll turn that over to Mr. Conway. As Dr. Delia said, we still wait for Albany to put the finishing touches on their budget, though it appears things are getting closer than ever. They've actually started drafting the the budget bills, and some of them are out there. They're thousands and thousands of pages long, so we'll see what's in them. Mr. Conway.
Good evening, everyone.
We didn't have to have you go after students today. So.
Had one presentation in between. Just waiting for the presentation to come up. Maybe. There we go. Run inside. There we go. Keep me on my toes. Okay, so good evening again. Yes, this is the fifth and final presentation of the budget. These last several months, the process has been discussed in great detail. Tonight is just meant to be more or less a recap of what we've discussed and what we've gone through. And after all the presentations tonight, I'll try my best to just keep this brief.
Thank you.
Sure. The budget process. This slide was really gone through early on, several months back, and what it began as in the fall, October, November, we had discussions with all the stakeholders district-wide. That involved building principals, chair people, department heads, things like that, as well as all the administrators. Purpose there was to look at the needs, the wants, possible enhancements that they need for their buildings or their programs. We also had to consider, obviously, rollover costs, things like salary, benefits, contractual codes. At the same time, we also have to be mindful of what kind of revenue we would be getting in terms of tax levy, state aid, rental income, interest income, things of that nature. So that was the mental framework, if you will. Some of the key budget highlights are summarized on this slide. I know the board, Dr. D'Elia and the cabinet, we're pretty proud and excited to present this budget this year. It's a 2.2% proposed tax levy for 25-26. That's a savings to the taxpayer of over $2.2 million versus the maximum allowable levy, which the board could have chosen to go with, of 3.975, as per the formula. And that is also the fifth consecutive year the board has chosen to do such, with going with a levy below the allowable limit. That being said, we were able to include a lot of great things in the budget, such as bus replenishment, I'll get to in a moment, the ability to sustain and enhance our program offerings, continue the partnership with Northwell Health, which we've had for many years. That, of course, supports the student social, emotional, and mental health. And then continuation of our district-wide security and capital improvements. Switching over to a review of the revenue expectations. So the tax levy I spoke to a moment ago at 2.2%, that equates to $129.4 million. It's an increase year over year of new money, about $2.7 million. The state aid, we're looking at around 77.9. And as everyone has stolen the thunder already, we still don't know what that number truly will be. This is a conservative estimate based on the governor's proposal from January. The budget was due by the state on April 1st. Here we are, May 7th. We're still waiting. So that is our best educated guess at this point in time. Then we have other revenues of $9.3 million. That, as we've discussed in the past, includes things like health billings to other district, interest income, property rental income, things of that nature. Reserve usage, $2.99 million. I'll come to that in another slide. And in the appropriated fund balance, that's that rainy day fund the districts are allowed to use towards revenue of $2.79 million, for a total revenue and budget picture of $222,568,493. Okay, transportation. Transportation has been quite the discussion the last, this school year actually, pretty much the entire year. What we've looked to do, along with the Transportation Committee, as well as while we've developed this budget, is to allocate $1.5 million to the purchase of new buses. The intent right there is to obviously replenish our fleet, keep it modern, but also to strategically take back routes from our vendor, the most efficient routes that we could take back. Obviously service our students with our own employees, our own drivers, the same face every morning, all while saving money. In the budget with that $1.5 million, we're looking to buy 7 66-passenger large diesel buses and 4 29-passenger gas-powered vans. Changing gears to facilities planning for 25-26. Also in the budget development for the proposed 25-26 year is $6.1 million in transfer to capital. We've gone through these projects in detail the last several presentations, so I won't repeat them all. But the Facilities Committee, it's comprised of board members, superintendent, various administrators, and those meetings are held at least once a month. Typically, we'll go to a building throughout the district and vary our locations to really get up close and personal with each building, what it may need, what enhancements could be done today and or in the future. And these are the projects which we've gone through in detail in prior meetings. Trying to keep this as brief as possible. This one here is also similar to one of the earlier slides. Just again, proud to go with a 2.2% tax levy increase. Again, versus what we could have gone with a 3.975. And that's a savings again of over $2.2 million. And it is worth repeating, the 5th consecutive year going below the maximal which would have been allowed. Okay, on this slide here, I'll try to keep this one simple. There's a lot of numbers, but we'll break it down easily for you to understand. It's really a recap of the overall revenue picture. On the left side, you'll obviously see the various categories, followed by the proposed 25-26 year, the current year we're living in, and then the dollar and percentage change off to the right. Tax levy, as we spoke to, the $129.4 million, and you'll note in the top right corner a 2.2% change. State aid, that's a $77.9 million, our best estimate at this point in time. And then the other category, the things we just spoke to, that $9.3 million. If you'll take your eye to the third column there on that line, you'll see a decrease of roughly $1.4 million year over year. Almost all of that is due to the Long Island School for the Gifted. That lease is expiring at the end of June of this year. They will be leaving us, so that's the attributable decrease there, as well as some other immaterial increases and decreases. I do want to be clear that the Montessori school at Memorial, that lease is in place, and that school will be staying in their current part of the building and have no impact on wherever that building ultimately turns out to be utilized for. That center section is the reserves. That bold number is $2.99 million, and we're looking to use $990,000 of the employee retirement system, $1 million each from both workers' comp and our terminal leave reserve. And you'll see in the third column in that category as well, a year-over-year change of about $1.4 million. And the reason for that is simply, if you were in tuned on the March 5th presentation, we went through in detail how last year's books were closed out. We had a couple fortunate breaks last year where we were able to put money back into reserves, and we felt it appropriate to pass that money back onto the taxpayer by allocating that reserve money towards the budget and keeping the tax levy as low as we possibly could. So that's why that is an increase there. Next line, no change there. Appropriated fund balance, $2.79 million year over year. And then those categories of revenue reserves and fund balance brings us to the total revenue picture, $222,568,493, obviously, which equals the expenditures. One number I want to just be clear on in case you may look at this later on, the last line all the way to the right, 2.32%. I don't want that to be confused with the levy. The levy is the top line where it's a 2.2% tax levy increase. That bottom line is just the overall dollar change in the budget itself on the expense side. So I just wanted to differentiate the two. This estimated tax rate, I wanted to include this again tonight, even though we went through it last month. The town always assesses the final valuation in the fall, usually around September. At this point in time, at our last meeting, we discussed taking an approximate calculation by reducing it by $250,000. Pretty accurate based on trends and a conservative estimate. And last month we spoke about a potential tax increase for the average size home of just over $23. Just this past week, we got the tentative assessed value from the town. Of course, it's tentative, it may still change. But at this point in time, it was only a decrease of $50,000, which is good news. So now on the average home, it would only increase roughly $19 per month. So just minor change, but still a favorable change, and we will wait for the fall for the final valuation. These next two slides, again, promise not to read any of it, but this has been discussed both by the board and Dr. D'Elia going back to the fall, the concept of a capital reserve. We've been very transparent and discussed this in great detail throughout this process. This has been and continues to be on our website, so I encourage you to read it. Basically, what it says in a nutshell is conceptually what is a capital reserve, how we are requesting it to be funded today and down the road into the future, the types of projects for which it could be expended on, and also the ability and how that money would ultimately be used. That's that in a nutshell. Again, it's on the website. Please do read it. It's a lot of good information. And that will be the second proposition on the ballot in a few weeks, the first itself being the budget.
And Mr. Conway, that proposition is at no additional cost to the taxpayers, correct?
Absolutely correct. Okay. District goals, this has been up, and I'll just basically run through them briefly. We've discussed this over and over. I know the goals of both Dr. D'Elia as well as the board and everyone in this room is really to continuously push our students to be the best, find what excites them, find them to be better individuals, and really, you see it tonight with the presentations, and these kids are really becoming young adults quickly and taking advantage of a lot of the opportunities we offer them. That comes with not only the academic, but we constantly have to be mindful of the social and emotional needs of all students, and that includes closing achievement gaps if and where they are apparent to our teachers. Reviewing and enhancement of our academic programs. I can assure you that's constantly being looked at by administration. Do we have the right program in place? Yes or no? Do we tweak it to constantly stay at the forefront of what these students, what's in their best interest? Obviously, another theme that's been present throughout all these months worth of meetings, fiscal sustainability, consciousness of inflationary times, everyone's pocketbooks back at home, as well as our district-wide safety and facilities maintenance and enhancements. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but in 13 days, on May 20th, is the actual vote over at the high school from 2 to 9 p.m. You'll be voting on the first proposition, which is the budget, the second proposition, which is that capital reserve we spoke to, as well as Board of Trustee nominations there.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Hang on there for a second because it's a public hearing, so I'm going to open it up to any questions from the public on the presentation and the budget. Any questions? No? Going once? Twice? All right, so we will close the public hearing then at 9:05. Thank you, Mr. Conway. All right, I have a request for a 5-minute bathroom break, so come back at 9:10. Thank you. moving on to the business agenda. I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions? All in favor of the agenda? Any opposed? All right, moving on to items E through H will require one resolution for adoption. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. I do want to go through the bids one by one, so those items G. Mr. Conway, we'll start with the third-party workers' comp administrator.
So tonight's request for the board to award an RFP for workers' comp administrative services to PMA Management Corporation. So this RFP, we had 5 respondents. PMA has been the incumbent, has serviced the district successfully for close to 20 years, and they have agreed through this RFP to hold their pricing for another 5 years.
Okay. Any questions? All right, moving on to Schedule 26-6R, General Legal Counsel. Can you go ahead with that?
This request here is for the board to award an RFP for legal counsel services to Ingram & Smith. We heard throughout this process from 6 firms that replied to the RFP. In this case, Ingram was actually the lowest cost. That was along with the 20-plus year relationship. We felt this would be them that best fit the supplement.
Okay, yeah, they're giving us excellent legal service as well. And last but not least, internal auditing.
Yes, the request here would be to award the services to Rocky Smith. For this RFP, there were 3 auditing firms that responded. Rocky has been with the district for quite some time, has been available, made himself available to various audit committees and or board meetings as requested, and has always been very responsive to our needs.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Conway. The board have any questions on the bids or anything else in items E through H, which include the bills? Yes, Mr. Bronson.
I was just going to add, just from being on the audit committee, that yes, as I'm sure myself and Mr. Biangasso would agree that, you know, Naraki has been very responsive, very helpful, and what I particularly like is that they take sometimes a complicated subject and really summarize the highlights for us to be able to discuss on audit committee and obviously take that information onto the board. So again, I'm just supportive of their. We have a long relationship with them, but they've been a positive vendor for us on the audit side.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bronson. Appreciate that and your work on audit. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we do have no communications listed, so we'll move on to the new business. We have 10 items of new business. First is the approval of tax anticipation notes for the 2025-2026 school year. Motion. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Mr. Conway again.
Thank you. This is a typical request this time of year. Tonight, consideration is a request to authorize the district to issue tax anticipation notes, also known as TANs, in an amount not to exceed $45 million. This is due to the district's need, most districts all around, especially Suffolk County, to cover their short-term borrowing through the timeline with which we receive our tax dollars. State aid usually begins coming in around September, however, the local real estate taxes do not become to trickle in until December or early January, and supposedly the short-term cash flow.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Conway. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Certainly would help if the state would get us the state aid earlier. Moving on to item 2, data privacy agreements. Motion. Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. Tonight, the district is seeking approval from the Board of Education to shift the way that we handle our data privacy agreements. So just in a nutshell, because this is a long story, but I'll make it somewhat short, in 2014, New York State Education Department enacted a law, Education Law 2D, related to student data privacy. When that happened, it meant that basically school districts had about 5 years to get in full compliance with this. That has required us, as you've seen meeting after meeting, to accept data privacy agreements from these vendors, ensuring that they will comply with all elements of this education law. That being said, as you can imagine, we have 134 agreements currently that are negotiated annually with our attorneys and the vendors. This can take up a significant amount of time, effort, and energy, and can be very drawn out. So the state has actually partnered with the RIC-1, which is the Regional Information Centers, which is our BOCES throughout New York State. And basically what they're doing is they've created another, this is the acronym time, a program called A4L SDPC, which is Access for Learning Student Data Privacy Consortium. And so the goal is to centralize the negotiation of a lot of these data privacy agreements, to make a bank of them available that districts can piggyback off of.
And so right now, currently, the programs that the district has, 24 of them are currently available. So we'll still have plenty of work to do for the other agreements, but the hope would be that more and more become a part of this and that we can continue to streamline this process. So shifting forward, what we would look to do is obviously sign on to those agreements, let the board be aware of which agreements we're participating in through this A4L SDPC. I'll have it memorized soon. I'm still checking my notes. And then what we would do further is need a digital signature. So as the data protection officer of the district, I would then be the digital signature for the district, where on that platform I would be able to sign. I would not do that without your approval. So that would be the process for those agreements. And then any other agreements that we participate in separately, we would continue our typical process where we bring those individually to the board. That was a nutshell. I'm sorry.
Simple stuff.
Yeah. I will say, having been at the inception of that, maybe my first year as a tech director, this was one of the most complicated things for school districts and just became such a time-consuming thing. So it's really nice to be here seeing this shift toward streamlining, which has taken many years to get here, 8+, 9+ years. So I'm excited for it, and hopefully it serves us well.
Thank you, Ms. Kavanaugh. Questions from the board? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving into a series of trips. Our first is a trip to Albany for our varsity boys soccer Long Island champions. Motion. Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Dr. D'Elia.
Yes, this is a trip organized by Assemblyman Stern. This will take place on Wednesday, May 21st over at the New York State Capitol, and it will be, basically they'll go on a tour, and then in the afternoon they'll be honored within the Capitol. So this is a great honor for our Long Island champions, and looking for the board's approval.
Excellent. Any questions? All in favor? That's really, really cool. And I was up there once many years ago when they won the state championship with Assemblyman Lupinacci, and it's a great day for the students, so they deserve it. Next, approval of out-of-state field trip. Six Flags. Motion. Oh, Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. Tonight, for the board's approval, we have a request from Ms. Voorhees, the National Junior Honor Society advisor, to look to head to Six Flags in June 25th of 2025, taking 200 students with 20 chaperones.
All right.
Good luck.
Good. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business item 5, approval of overnight field trip to Washington, D.C. Motion. Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. So this must have been a good trip because they're already requesting it again for next year, so it's hard to believe. We are talking about March of 2026. I had to look
Wow.
the number twice to make sure I was saying the right number. So this is again a request from Ms. Voorhees, our National Junior Honor Society advisor at Stimson Middle School, looking to head back to Washington, D.C. with 100 students and 12 chaperones.
Okay. Very good. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Item 6. Now we're going a little further away to Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Yeah. Motion. Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Ms. Kavanaugh?
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. Tonight, for the board's approval, we have an out-of-country overnight field trip to Germany, Austria, and Switzerland for February of 2026. So I know that we all remember last month we were joined by our students who shared their extraordinary experience headed to Italy and Peru. That same group, that same teacher, Ms. Costanza from Walt Whitman, is looking to bring another group of potentially 15 students, a smaller group, 15 students and 2 chaperones over to those places. Very
cool.
exciting for them.
Yeah. Question. All in favor? Any opposed? Yeah, I don't know if that was intentional, right? We started in Albany, we went to Jersey, D.C., and Ms. Caliendo, did you do that on purpose? Yes. Okay, I figured. Good job. Moving on to item 7, approval of obsolete items, vehicles, and equipment. Is there a motion? Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Mr. Conway.
Tonight, for the board's approval, is a request to obsolete various items. This includes 5 vehicles from the Transportation Department dating back to 1995, as well as miscellaneous kitchen items from the Memorial Kitchen that are no longer needed. All of these items will be auctioned off using Auctions International, as we've done for quite some time now, and any proceeds will come back to the board for approval to deposit into the general fund.
Okay, questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. Item number 8 is approval of obsolete items. Motion. Mr. Biancasso, seconded by Ms. LaCara. Mr. Conway.
Thank you. This one here is a request to obsolete an old, non-functioning piano from Maplewood. This one in particular will be scrapped and not sent to auction as they're broken, being worthless and beyond repair.
Okay, it's clear. Thank you. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, next is the approval for the superintendent and board members to attend the annual Nassau Suffolk School Board Association annual meeting on May 28th at the Hamlet Golf Club. Motion. Mr. Biancasso, seconded by Mr. Joyner. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Anybody else that wants to come, please do. They do their annual business meeting here, and they give out their school service award, so it's always a nice night. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? And last but not least, approval for placements by the committees on special education and preschool special education, various states listed. Is there a motion? Mr. Biancasso, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to personnel. We have personnel schedules 2, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 15, 16, 19, 20, and 22. Is there a motion? Mr. Biancasso, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Any questions on personnel? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on, we have, quite a number of committee reports, even more. Curriculum Committee, Ms. LaCara.
Yes, the highlights from that, March 27th, we had an update on the regional summer school, and the changes for the coming year are going to be registration of our students through our guidance counselors, and there will be attendance dean at the on-site monitoring the attendance, because that was a problem in the past. And they will give weekly contact with the district, keeping track of all the students' attendance. And also middle school classes will be more skill-based, and South Huntington is going to sponsor an additional program this summer for 6th graders and 7th graders going into in the fall, and it's going to be focused on literacy and math skills. There was a graduation update rolling out the portrait of a graduate, the changes to pathways to graduation. We have a K through 12 portrait of a graduate vision committee, and they're going to be reviewing the state guidelines as they come down and making eventually an adoption of a portrait of the South Huntington graduate.
Yeah, nice.
And we're going to align our course catalogs, work to align them with the pathways now presented by the states that are going to lead us to graduation. And one last thing I'm just going to mention, we have a district professional learning plan, and it had to be updated. So it's now updated from 2025 to 2028. And one of the updates that was put in place was including collegial circles forming with teachers could come together to share ideas, questions, or new developments, and the funding of this is through Title II.
Thank you, Ms. LaCara. All right, next, our Diversity and Equity Committee, Ms. Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. This committee met, I'm just looking at the date from this meeting. This was the February 5th meeting of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity Committee. We have members from all of our schools, our board members, including Gracie, who joins us at this committee, which is wonderful to have. And ultimately, we spent actually the majority of the time working in groups at this meeting. It's one of those things that you're never supposed to do, is put people in groups at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but we did it anyway. And it was really nice to see the conversation centering on the culturally responsive and sustaining education framework from New York State Education Department, which has 4 main aspects: welcoming and affirming environment, high expectations and rigorous instruction, inclusive curriculum and assessment, and ongoing professional learning. So we broke into groups and we talked about those 4 different categories and how we're currently implementing those things. And then each person from the committee was asked to go back to their building where they would continue to add to that document. We cleaned it up, and it'll be something that we share out and use moving forward to just show our alignment to that. Ms. Wendy Blair Braxton joined us as well, and she is from BOCES, and she worked with us on this also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kavanaugh. Okay, Mr. Conway, Transportation Committee.
Thank you. So Dr. Murphy and I held our final transportation committee on Thursday, April 24th. At that meeting, our committee members signed a memo which will be presented to the board when we speak on June 4th, and it outlines the overall process that we took from the beginning of this process, these meetings, the conversations, and ultimately the committee's recommendations for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Look forward to it. All right, we have 3 meetings left this year. May 20th, Tuesday, which is our budget vote and board elections from 2 to 9 p.m. And we'll also have a board meeting that night as well at 7:30 p.m. with a special Michael Curtin ceremony. Then June 4th, at which we're going to have our Transportation Savings Committee report back. And then finally, June 17th, which we've got a lot of stuff, tenure recognition, retirement, and above and beyond awards. All right, comments by board members. Mr. Biangasso.
Yes, first of all, I think that I just wanted to celebrate all the wonderful things that have been going on throughout our schools throughout the 100th year, particularly over the last couple of weeks. I myself was fortunate enough to attend a couple of events that I would like to highlight. A couple of weeks ago, the seniors over at Walt Whitman High School had a voter registration breakfast that was hosted by the local chapter of the NAACP and the National Association of Women Voters. It was very well attended. I got a chance to speak to students as well, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity to really teach our seniors an opportunity in civics, and in particular registering for the vote. We were very lucky. On Friday night over at Adventureland, we had our family fun night, which was wonderful. For those people who were able to attend, they closed the park for us, and a wonderful time was had by all. Weather wasn't as nice on Sunday, but my esteemed colleague here with Chef, they were able to get their run in. We were able to lower the time capsule, and even though I probably won't be here in 50 years, and a lot of us won't, it was nice to be able to contribute something to it anyway. Although I'd be a little old, they might have to wheel me out, but it was wonderful to be a part of.
Tracy, mark this down in your calendar.
Yes, mark it down if I'm not here. I also wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, a special thank you to our special thank you, but congratulations to our own Mr. Muller over at the high school, who was just named Assistant Principal of the Year. And that's not just for Long Island, but throughout the entire state. Tremendous accomplishment. Happy National Teacher Appreciation Day to all the wonderful teachers we have here in the district. We appreciate all that you're doing for our students. Special thank you as well. Not thank you, congratulations to our own esteemed board president, Mr. Ciapetta, who was just honored by the Huntington Hispanic Task Force for community service and recognition to the board. And I say this so many times, I know it sounds biased. I see all the events going on, especially as we've been celebrating the 100th year, that make us the best district throughout Long Island. But then again, I always say it's not biased when it's the truth. So, thank you.
Thank you. I saw Mr. Bronson's hand up. Mr. Bronson.
Yeah, I just wanted to wish all the moms a very happy Mother's Day on Sunday. It's an important role, and my mom is so important to me, and I always have to remember to thank her because she does so much, and I know I don't thank her every day, but I certainly make sure on Mother's Day to thank her as well as other times during the year. So again, happy Mother's Day to everyone who's a mother in the district. Thank you.
I love that one. Mr. Scragg.
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Murphy and the 100th Anniversary Committee for a wonderful year of festivities, coming to a culmination this weekend with the time capsule burying. I also wanted to say thank you to everyone that participated in the Chef Centennial Fun Run, helping us raise money for our arts and science students in the district, giving them additional opportunities to hone their skills in music and dance and research. And I would like to announce that the most enthusiastic school who raised the most money for Chef this year by having the most registrants and the most sales of our sneaker cards was Birchwood Intermediate School. So congratulations, Birchwood. Although Mr. Toto he thinks it's rigged.
Thank you, Mr. Scragg. Ms. Meyer.
Thank you. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So happy Mental Health Awareness Month to everyone. And on behalf of the Wellness Committee, as well as the board, I just want to extend a thank you and a very heartfelt appreciation to all of the mental health staff that we have in the district. They do a tremendous job day in, day out, supporting all of our students at all different levels. And we are just very, very grateful for you. Not an official Wellness Committee report that will come at the next meeting, but we do know that all of the buildings are really embracing May as Mental Health Awareness Month and all have age-appropriate programming going on. So thank you to all of you for embracing that and keep up the great work. Just want to echo Mr. Biangasso's Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. And I feel like it's very poignant tonight because Mr. Rogers that was here with the Robotics Club just oozed passion and enthusiasm for what he does. And I think that really exemplifies all the teachers that we have in this district, and we are so lucky for that. Lastly, happy Nurses Appreciation Day. Our nurses are really vital to the function of our district. I think we're taking all of Dr. D'Elia's thunder today.
Yeah, it's all
It's gonna
gone.
be
That's
real
it.
quick. But thank you to our school nurses, and my school nurse holds a very special place in my heart because the house that I'm currently living in that we bought in 2020, when we went for the walkthrough, it was my Birchwood school nurse standing there that I happened to buy my house from. And she told me I hadn't changed a bit. So from when I was 10 years old, I don't know if that's good or bad. So thank you to everyone.
Dr. D'Elia, do you have anything else you'd like to share?
Okay, how can I be non-repetitive but saying the same things? That's what's going through my head right now. Just want to go back to Friday night, Adventureland, unbelievable night, and there was a lot of feedback from staff, and thank you to all the staff that came and made it possible. But also parents were like, I can't tell you how many parents came up to me and saying, can we do this every year? Because, Mother Nature was definitely looking out. And now I have a little bit of credibility with weather because I told you we weren't going to have a full snow day, and we did not. And I predicted good weather for Friday. I told a lot of people that. I'm not talking about graduation, so, John, you're going to have to go in a different direction. But the parents and everybody, it was such a great event. And, we'll see what we could do to, make this part of our fabric and culture moving forward. But it was definitely a great night. And it was 3 hours, went by really quick. But the students, who've been to Adventureland before have seen that, those lines can be very long. And it's like, I'm going on turbulence how many times now? So it was great. And thank you to Dr. Murphy and everyone involved, putting together the 100th year activities. That was our culminating activity this past Sunday, which was great. So there was a lot of work involved and really, really special year. And, these events don't happen by just, showing up. People have to do things to make them happen. So to everybody that was part of the 100th year, thank you so much. And also, I'm just going to personally thank the pre-K committee because they presented tonight their recommendations. Thank you to everybody. I know we had many people that were here. I know Jessica's here. You're very, all of you, in hearing from, Dr. Hender and Dr. McKillian, how productive the meetings were and what an unbelievable thing we're going to do for this community that needs to be really, really celebrated because there's not many districts that have full-day pre-K available for their communities. Very few. And we're a large district, obviously. And we're going to be able to take everybody in that resides in South Huntington. So we're very fortunate, and thank you for that great work. And I look forward to the board's recommendations at the end of June, last meeting. So, and yes, happy Mother's Day to all the hardworking mothers out there, and also teachers, principals, and as you said, nurses. They're all falling now within the same week here. We appreciate all the work you do, not just on those days, but every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. D'Elia. Gracie.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to waste any time. I actually do have a lot to talk about. Not too much of what I wanted to say was already said.
Oh, that's good. Right.
So I'm kind of excited. But as we heard, there's a lot to celebrate lately. So I'll start with Commitment Day, which was on May 1st. And this was just time for all of the graduating class to celebrate their plans for after college. And I won't lie, seeing everyone on the field was a little bit bittersweet, but I can say that all of our seniors were just really, really grateful to have shared that moment. And Whitman also had an amazing senior versus faculty lip sync battle the day after on that Friday, so congratulations to our winning teams. I know that the 100-year celebration has been talked about a lot, but I would like to personally thank all the administration and staff and the families who were there this Sunday, given the weather as well. All the help, it was really appreciated, and I hopefully will be back when it's dug up, and I will sit there and I will say everyone's name and say they're here with us too.
Thank you. Roll call.
Yes, everyone is gonna be there. I'll be with my walker, but I'll be there. Lastly, in terms of celebrations, I know Mr. Biangasso already mentioned it, but congratulations to Dr. Muller. I've obviously been with him the last 4 years. I can say his award is very well deserving. He was assistant principal of the year, so he spent last Friday in Albany. And so if you see him, just give him a congratulations and let him know that we're proud. I myself am very proud. So now for things coming up. This Saturday, the Wildcat Booster Club is going to be holding their car wash at Stimson. I wasn't too sure about a time for this, so if there's someone from Stimson here that maybe knows. Okay. It's totally okay. I know that there's a car wash on that day. If you go, there's going to be someone there. I have a lot more to mention, so bear with me. I'm just going to kind of go down the list. Friday, May 9th, the high school is going to be delivering lawn signs to all of the seniors. So Dr. Murphy said they're going to start at 2:30, and whenever they're done is when they're going to be done. But it's a really nice tradition, and it leaves the seniors with a really special moment to remember. And a lawn sign, so that's nice. Tuesday, May 13th, the annual mini-thon for the district's 5th graders will be held at Memorial. And this is another really nice tradition, and all families are invited to watch and come. On a theater note, I always have to mention the theater. Thursday, May 15th is the Huntingtonia Awards, and this year it's going to be at Harborfield High School. This year we got really, really lucky with the nominations. A bunch of actresses and actors were nominated for their performances alone, but also the productions themselves as a whole were also nominated, so we're hoping for some wins. I think we're going to be lucky this year. We did really, really well. Friday, May 16th, 155 Whitman students are going to be recognized and awarded for making this year's principals list. These students have just really taken advantage of every opportunity they've been given. They serve as role models, and they're just all on the path to becoming extremely successful people. So Whitman is going to take this night and just show them that we're really proud of them. The day after, not much more exciting, but it's pretty exciting. I'm excited. It's junior prom, and that'll be in the South Cafe. And the theme this year is Great Gatsby, so the pictures are going to be really great. So thank you, Liz. I'm already thank you because I know they're going to come out great. Lastly, we're beginning our spring concert season. It started with Birchwood yesterday night. Maple will be on the 13th, Stimson the 12th and 14th, and all of the concerts will take place in the Whitman PAC. Just keep in mind, all of this, I know it's a lot, it's occurring simultaneously with AP exams, and there are also New York State English and science exams mixed in. So good luck to all the students taking these tests, and we are almost through a very, very busy time of year. I'll end with reminding everyone that during our next board meeting, I think Mr. Chivetta slightly mentioned it, 70 students are going to be honored for the Michael Curtin Awards. So with our school year coming to an end, it's really just a time to acknowledge all the students and staff, everything they've accomplished. So we should expect some more award ceremonies within the next few weeks. But that is just one of them. So I know that was a lot, but that is all I have. And thank you.
Good job, Gracie. One thing you did not cover is our biennial realtor brunch at which you spoke and relayed your experience as a student, and really, I have to say, spoke so beautifully. Very eloquent speaker. You're amazing. Really impressive. And also, then you did double duty performing with Lucy, your hit duet from Chicago, which was equally great, and a cappella, even more impressive. So, great job. Yeah, thank you for everyone who participated as well. We had our salutatorian speak, so we had great speakers. We had Ms. Kim Latko speak from the high school, one of our best teachers. She spoke about her experiences, which obviously are as a district resident and a graduate and a mother. So it was really a nice event. But of course, the students are always the highlights of it. So thank you. All right. Voice of the residents. Any residents like to address the board? Yes, please come up. Please state your name too.
Hi, my name is Dana Calvert. I'm a mom of a student at Oakwood. I want to add happy Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander month as well. I didn't hear that one. But that's not why I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the armed guards issue, which I've spoken about before, which I noticed it was referred to as enhanced security now. Is it okay to ask a follow-up question about the budget? Because I didn't think of it at the time.
Sure, yeah.
So I know that 2 years ago, it was $750,000 for the armed security. Is that still the same amount, or is it different now?
Dr. D'Elia?
And is it the same company and everything as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. The policy, as you know, it was, I refer to it as the armed gunman policy. It was implemented in 2023. Protecting our children's all of our top priority, and it's an emotional issue. I truly appreciate the district's efforts to keep our children safe. But based on analyzing evidence available and continuing to read new research, I still feel that armed guards are security theater and an expensive, unjustified measure. One large-scale study of school shootings that occurred within a decades-long span proved that casualties were almost 3 times as likely when armed security was present. A limitation of that study was that it could not account for shootings that may have been deterred by the presence of guards, but research also shows that psychologically, school shooters are typically suicidal and seeking confrontation, thereby making schools with armed guards better targets for them. The most high-profile shooting events of the last decade, like Parkland, Uvalde, Las Vegas, all had armed police present. And another study published by Harvard found that in 14,000 crimes in which a victim was present, just under 1% involved a gun used in self-defense. On the contrary, recent research on school safety has shown that the most effective measures are often inexpensive, common sense ones, like locking school doors, clear security plans and communication, panic buttons, de-escalation training, protocols for recognizing and reporting students exhibiting red flags and warning signs, positive school cultures, and ample social resources for students and families. And while some may like the idea of school guards, that preference is not rooted in science, and research also shows that there are racial and class divides with how police on school grounds are perceived. The community was never surveyed about this issue, like some other nearby school districts did, so we don't have any data about that here. I think it would be helpful and reassuring if the board were able to present any evidence at all showing that safety is improved with armed guards. And I also think it would be respectful to include families and communities in future decisions to maintain this program, especially at a time when money is needed for the portables because it's a fiscal issue, but also because there are real tangible risks involved for the community when police are invited on school grounds. One researcher pointed out that the very presence of police changes a school from a place of learning to a place of surveillance. I find this point about surveillance particularly disturbing at a time when ICE has been rounding up immigrants in communities across the US, leading to the deportation of US citizens without due process. And my fears about this are not baseless, because in 2018, a student named Alex in Huntington School District was deported due to a school police officer reporting him to ICE under the mistaken assumption that he was involved in gang activity. This makes sense because research on police in schools frequently warns that when student discipline matters become police matters, school personnel are then rendered helpless to intervene. This was the case with Alex, and it was the case for recent student deportations in this country as well, such as Sackett's Harbor, New York, where the family was only returned when the state intervened. I thank you, Dr. D'Elia, for sharing the New York State guidance about the rights of immigrant students earlier this school year. But I want to know, as an immigrant mother concerned for my community and fellow immigrants, have these armed gunmen, former police officers, been trained on that document?
First, the document was submitted to everybody, so I can, assure you that they were, and they're not having contact with students though as well. So they're not, and they haven't had any as over the past 2.5 years. They do not have student contact.
Okay, so I know there's like 3 types of documentation that they need to show if they're allowing people on school grounds. Like, has that been discussed in a meeting with them?
Are you referring to if the potential?
Yes, it's the same immigrants' rights.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm answering your question.
But I didn't finish my question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Are you answering if ICE shows up on school grounds as far as the documentation?
Yes, it's a follow-up to my earlier question.
There are protocols that the principals have in place that we followed, that we've been in close consultation with our legal team and exactly how it will be.
But I'm asking if the armed security members were briefed on that, if they had a meeting about this document, or if they just received it, or do they specifically know what documentation is needed?
Well, they're not part of that, the armed security guards. If ICE is showing up, it is the building principal that is involved with it.
But can you ensure us that they would not speak to an ICE officer in not in uniform who appears on school grounds?
They're not speaking with ICE officers, our armed security. That's not the purpose of them
What
being
is
there.
what is the rule regarding that for them exactly?
Well, that, I just said they're not speaking with them.
So they know they're not allowed to speak to, like, if a stranger showed up, wouldn't they speak to them, or they wouldn't? They would report it to someone else.
No, we also have additional security on grounds as well.
Okay.
Not everybody's armed.
So you said that they're not allowed to talk to students. I wanted to also know, where are they exactly permitted on campus? Because I know they're allowed in cars, but they're not supposed to enter the building. Are they allowed to enter the building to use the bathroom? Or is there any circumstance in which they would be allowed to enter the building?
They're not entering the building, and they do not use our bathrooms in the building.
Okay. And they're not allowed to speak to students as well, right? Okay. Are they also aware that they're not allowed to question students on citizenship status or disclose any information about students?
Absolutely.
Okay. I also wanted to know, will you be assessing or evaluating? Sorry? Okay. Will you be assessing or evaluating the efficacy and public reception of the armed security policy at any time soon? Or is it going to just continue without any further review of it?
That would be a board matter. You know, we review all of our policies from time to time. And I believe we've brought in New York State school boards, you know, because we have to update our policy manual. So, you know, we'll be updating our policy manual. You know, I don't know whether this policy would come up for review again. I doubt it because we just adopted it. So, but
I'm wondering if anyone else on the board has any thoughts about that. If they think it's worthy of something being under review, or a committee, perhaps like the UPK committee that the community could be a part of.
I don't see an interest to revisit the issue that we just implemented last year.
Okay, because that was my last question, was just about if there was a committee. I think that would be, you know, very valuable to the community, and I would definitely want to volunteer to be a part of that.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind if there was one. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else want to address the board? No? Going once? Twice? Okay, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion? Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Scragg. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.